this a big tick mark in your career that will always stay?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's the biggest
Yeah,
by,
biggest,
far.
by far.
And see, partly when you're writing these sort of films, you're not really going only as a writer, you're also going as somebody in the audience. You're going as a fanboy. Because you've grown up on Mr. Khan's film.
If you could tell me at the start, what was Aditya Chopra's vision for this?
Yesterday, SRK sir was talking about this in some, maybe in that press conference or something, he was talking about how 30 years back when when Dilwale, he was actually thinking he was going to be getting an action film.
Right.
This is the action film, which
This
was
is-
promised. And our job was to design it and deliver exactly what Adi sir had intended and had in mind for him.
Always writing this, keeping Shah Rukh Khan in mind? Was he on board right from day one?
Try and level up with what his fans have, and if you're lucky, try and match it.
Right.
And give them slightly more than they say, yeah, wow, this is fun, this was interesting. Action, I think he's like a PhD.
Wow.
I'm sure I mean, maybe he's got a different book on romantic films, which I don't know about.
Right.
But I actually learned a lot of it myself.
Shridhar, welcome to Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you
This
so much.
is a massive hit. Is this a big tick mark in your career that will always stay?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's the biggest
by
by, far.
far.
And yeah, I mean, guess so, totally.
Right. You know,
I think for most of us in the film,
Right.
it's like, it would be like kind of a peak we've hit. Like,
Right. You know, for the team that makes it, you guys,
Yeah.
at some point you get an idea that this is working. At
Look,
what
honestly,
point?
if we didn't have that idea, we wouldn't go ahead. I mean, because most of writing is you work on tons of scripts and only
Correct.
some get made. Yeah, but this, we felt it was working at every stage on paper, etc. But finally in the making, see, this film was also made in the middle of COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of difficulties in the process of making this. So on paper, I can only talk on paper.
Sure.
I was pretty confident this is a great, cool way to see Mr. Khan. It'll be great fun. See, partly when you're writing these sort of films, you're not really going only as a writer, you're also going as somebody in the audience. You're going as a fanboy. Because you've grown up on Mr. Khan's films and you also know what you anticipate and what you want as a theatre-going person. So we were trying to live up to that. One is, of course, with Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. One is also the kind of films we grew up on watching, you know, Manmohan Desai, Prakash Mehra, those kind of films. Ki, chal yaar, we want to make like a flamboyant, fun, entertaining, just a repeat value film. I'm not sure if people get that phrase anymore. Again, you know, you just want to go again and again because of that dialogue, that scene, that moment, that song, whatever. So the idea was to try and do something like that and yet make it organic. Make it genuine. So,
could you explain to the audience at what point was it always meant, you all were always writing this keeping Shah Rukh Khan in mind? Was he on board right from day one? How does this work?
Yeah. The film, look, this is again a discussion which happened before I really came on board. But I knew that Adi sir and Sid had been talking to him for a while on doing this sort of a film, etc. And they had an idea. Adi sir and Sid had an idea. Sid had the idea about this virus thing and the plot, etc. Adi sir had ideas for characters. I came in and it was a given that we were doing this for him. And we were trying to see how can we do this cool action, interpret him in an action avatar.
You know, you all gave Shah Rukh Khan what he said what he always wanted to do. But you must have grown up on, we all have grown up on movies which are so different, where Shah Rukh Khan doing this, romancing, doing love stories. Was it, how does this work on your mind that this, have to forget about that Shah Rukh Khan who's a romantic and give him something completely different?
See, funnily for me, there are multiple Shah Rukh Khans. In the sense, I remember the Shah Rukh Khan of Dar and Bazigar, which to me was terrific and scary in its own way. The romantic hero, of course. Everybody knows him as the romantic hero. I remember him as the boy next door, Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na. What Kundan did with him, Aziz used to do with Yes Boss and stuff like that. So there are all these different Shah Rukh Khans over there. Dawn is there, I guess, also, which is an action interpretation in a certain manner or a thriller interpretation or whatever. It was never a debate. Also, he himself is like a, I mean, one thing most people aren't aware about is he knows the action genre inside out.
I'm sure,
So when we were working on the script, he's written like a 70-100 page thesis on what an action film is. And not like I want to do this, nothing. Just an understanding and analysis of the action film and
He
what
has
makes it
written
work.
it.
He has. Yeah.
Wow.
So
And he showed it to you all. What
he was
is
just sharing it and
right.
saying that, for example, this. And so he had 500 levels of input. See, what happens is people tend to interpret it as almost like there are different cubicles. Story happens here, screenplay happens here, dialogue happens
Correct,
here,
yeah.
editing happens here. It's all actually very integrated.
Right.
So Sid and Adi sir had something, we developed it, we designed it, then Sid built it, the editor had lots of ideas. Then when we were, much before that, when we were discussing with SRK sir himself, he had tons of ideas and tons of interesting points of view. So it was kind of all of this coming together. It wasn't me sitting in isolation and writing something and like walking off like, I did this. It wasn't that at all. It was the whole business is collaborative.
Correct.
So this was definitely collaborative.
And great that your main lead star has all these inputs that you're saying. It's completely
He's
commendable.
terrific. I mean, he's like, in action, I think he's like a PhD.
Wow.
I'm sure I mean, maybe he's got a different book on romantic films, which I don't know about.
Right.
But I was fascinated because some of the insights that he had on the tropes of an action film or how one should be. I actually learned a lot of it myself. Avid movie watcher. I know the genre inside out. I also teach sometimes, so I'm aware of the textbook aspect of this. But there were so many things that he said which were like really cool and which I didn't really know. So I learned a lot in the making of this from him on writing action itself.
Wow. So when you write for someone like Shah Rukh Khan, like you said from day one when you came on board, he was always going to be on board. Do you keep his fandom in mind, his image in mind, that his fans have to like everything that I write?
Look, honestly, not really, because that's a built-in factor.
Okay.
When see, like I said, you are that fan, no?
Yeah.
But you can't let that fan overwhelm the writing process.
Yes, that's so
in the sense, sorry, let me articulate this in this manner.
Sure.
We know exactly who the star is and what people expect of him because we expect that.
Right.
We want to go to a movie and watch an actor in a certain sort of manner. If I go and see any star, if I go and see Mr. Bachchan, I'm going there because I have 30, 40 years of accumulated memories and belief and hope and joy invested in this one person. And when he plays this new character, I'm like, yeah, take me on this ride. So obviously, with SRK, you have all that. And you have to somehow try and equal it, try and level up with what his fans have. And if you're lucky, try and match it.
Right.
And give them slightly more than they say, yeah, wow, this is fun, this was interesting.
Right. Across the feedback that we saw, the reviews and what the fans are saying, this is very slick. Like, it's very cool.
Everybody was Sid. Sid is a master
I know,
of
but
spectacle.
at some point, at what point does his, you all write all these amazing things.
Yeah.
At some point, Sid comes, gets his talent in. When you see this, what has happened to your writing on screen, what is your reaction?
See, let me put it this way, that Sid and Adi sir are integral to the writing itself. There is nothing which happened later which, for example, Sid loves spectacle.
Right.
He loves spectacle.
He is a spectacle.
And he really enjoys it.
Yeah.
If there are jetpacks, if there are this, I was talking to somebody else, that interval sequence of those buildings, that's Sid. That's how he thinks. He loves moments like that.
Right.
I like stuff which is more rooted, dramatic, so those are some of my contributions. Abbas will be humor. Adi sir is humor. That last scene.
Yeah, where they're sitting and talking.
That's Adi sir. It's written by Adi sir. Like
so
it'll say screenplay me, it'll say whatever. That scene is him.
Amazing.
So I'm just saying it's completely collaborative. So on paper, when we were working, look, I don't know whether this might bore somebody, so edit it out. But what happens normally is, okay, you have a story. I'm just giving a sense of the process so people understand how it really works.
This is helpful. Please trust me. Yeah.
So we know the kind of film we want to make. We know the kind of genre that we are attempting. And we know the kind of idea which is the seed which we are starting with. Lot of discussions. Adi sir, Sid, Uday sat in, had lots of inputs, lots of interesting ideas, brainstorming, discussing. Now I take all of it in, I go back, I say, okay, let me try and design this. And we do what we call a beat sheet or an outline. We outline the whole thing out. This becomes the skeleton on which we're operating.
Right.
Then we're discussing, okay, it'll be great to have this kind of sequence. What haven't we seen? What would be fun? What would be cool? What would be outrageous? What would be credible? And at this point, what happens is now, you are letting your imagination run riot. Because there is you're working on paper.
Right.
At the worst, I'll say, like what I've said is a bad idea. And you'll say, hey, one second, this doesn't work. It's too flamboyant. It's too whatever. But at that point, we're all on equal turf. So lots of ideas get thrown in, a lot of discussions come into place. And so in this process, we worked out 6-7 drafts of a screenplay, by the course of which we felt, yeah, this is working. Then inputs from the star, the actor. I mean, there are a lot of actors involved. So there are different, and everybody's looking at stuff from a different perspective. It's like Rashomon. I'm saying if you're acting in the film, you'll be seeing the film from your perspective. So you may say something basic which I didn't understand. And I'll say, oh man, I didn't realize that. So you do another rewrite, do another rewrite. Then you go on the floors, and then it's a whole different set of creatives which come into play. I mean, the DOP has done terrific work. The background score. Outside, we were just sitting and chatting about the themes that they've come, you know, for Jim and for Pathaan. So much terrific layering. So it's completely collaborative.
By nature, are you someone who's happy with as many inputs as possible?
Look, I think inputs are great for the simple reason that if I don't debate people's inputs. For the simple reason that if I'm assuming when you tell me something, it's because you genuinely believe that. If you genuinely believe that, I have to either convince you, and if I can't convince you, then I have to understand what the problem is and fix it. Because if I don't, when it's out there on the screen, 5 million people are going to give me that same input, and in a manner by which I would be hyper embarrassed. So I would rather take your input, knowing that it's coming from a good point of view. And look, in the case of the writing process of a film, the people involved in it are all very integral to the film. The director, the producer, the stars, the writer, they're all trying to make something work. So the inputs come from that point of view. Nobody's coming to be negative.
Of course.
That doesn't really happen. They're coming trying to, actually, they're confused about something. For example, some people may say, the structure, is this the right structure? That's a good question. But we must have explored 25 structures and then said, no, let's go with this structure. The editor. The editor may look at the whole edit and you think on paper it's damn good, it's been shot beautifully, but then on the edit table, the editor may have a terrific, Arif has done the editing. And he may say, one second, what if we, like I'd written a huge torture sequence. So Sid already cut half of it before because I'd gone somewhere else with it. And he shot one half of it, but then at some point on the edit table, when Sid, Adisa, Arif all sat, they felt maybe even this isn't required. So I'm saying there's a process on paper, like for example, how this might be a minor spoiler, how they find a location towards the climax. Since as a writer, I'm thinking very logically. I mean, there are 3-4 scenes we've written about how they locate the exact thing. Then you realize, no, it's not necessary. Because the audience, our audience is terrific. Every audience is terrific at adding and to kind of projecting. You don't need to spoon feed stuff anymore. So you can play with structure. You can leave things unsaid, and people get it.
You know, the vision is amazing. You'll have shot in different places. What was one, if you could tell me at the start, what was Aditya Chopra's vision for this? That he told you guys, that go and make
a really grand, big, kick-ass action film with SRK. Because if I remember right, I think yesterday SRK sir was talking about this in some, maybe in that press conference or something, he was talking about how 30 years back when he was Dilwale, he was actually thinking he was going to be getting an action film. This is the action film, which was promised. And our job was to design it and deliver exactly what Adi sir had intended and had in mind for him.
And lastly, what does a hit like this do to your own ego, your own, you know, filmography? What does this, how does this add?
I'm guessing my filmography looks better. So if somebody is Googling me, I'd probably look, who's this guy? Ego, I mean, I don't think it does anything, honestly. I mean...
confidence
it's not,
is the right word.
Confidence? No, honestly, I mean, look, if you're part of this business, I keep joking that if you're in a business of like getting hammered, you got to be tough as nails. So I think our business comes with its successes and its failures, and we can't allow ourselves to be driven down by a failure or taken up by a success. You just stay balanced and sorted. So ego zero. I mean, I'm as idiotic and as naive and as foolish and as I always was and I always intend to be. Filmography, I guess, looks good. I mean, it's nice to to have a blockbuster to your credit.
Yes, absolutely.
But I mean that is like, I mean,
So
it's not something which
that's in your
can,
nature, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's superb.
Yeah.
It's flamboyant. It's wow. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's great to write a film, to be involved in the writing of a film where you've done justice in some way to what fans expect from a star, what the star itself is hoping from the film.
Right.
I mean, so all these things you feel really, really good.
Right. Great. So apart from all your writing talent, what is to learn from you is also how not to fly when something like that big comes by.
I think the really crucial thing in our business is to stay centered
Right.
and stay normal
So
through
important.
the hits and the flops and the successes and the failures, and make sure you're enjoying the process.
You're
Because
enjoying it.
actually the real fun part is, look, what happens is the film is released now. We wrote this over the last three and a half years.
Correct.
So we had a blast writing it, making it, and we are delighted that it connected and people got that.
Right.
But the fun was this 95% even till the release. On the day of the release, obviously there's anxiety, there's nervousness, because that is a given.
Right.
And you feel great that it's doing well. But I was having fun anyway before this. All the interactions were great fun.
Great. We had a blast watching it. So thank you for entertaining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely speaking
Absolute
to you.
pleasure.
Thank you.